All I've done this winter is manage to make my chair all squeaky. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to be doing a AMD 7700X and 5070 build in a Cooler Master High Airflow 700 case. So let's get started. Now for the motherboard, we went with a Gigabyte X870, which has Wi-Fi 6 compatibility and is in the mid-range of full-size ATX boards. I wanted to go with a high airflow case just because we live in the Central Valley of California. Things get extremely hot, and you really want to keep filtered air, ideally, and positive pressure ventilation in your case at all times. So here's a up-close look at the motherboard here. Take off some of the peels. I'm going to leave him the case peels, but anything that could get warm on the internals I'm going to take off for him right now. Alright, I've consulted every higher power I have available and have concluded that yes, the included diagram on the motherboard is correct, and I will be populating slot A2 and B2 with our DDR5 6000 MHz RAM first. Some pretty nice looking sticks. Corsair Vengeance. It's a pretty decent RAM. In my opinion, a little bit overpriced for Corsair RAM. But it's what he ended up going with, and they're fine modules, and I'm sure that they'll run at the rated 6,000 megatransfers per second that is stated on the box. And that's all that really matters, right? Well, had a 50-50 shot, was wrong both times. What can you do? Okay, both of our RAM modules are seated. So now I'm going to be moving on to the Samsung 2TB 990 Pro M.2 PCIe 4.0 SSD. So now that that is in there, pop that down. And that is now holding that SSD in there. Nothing's bent, nothing's under too much pressure. Perfect. And then this is a thermal heatsink, I believe. Clips onto there. And now we've got, last but not least, the AMD Ryzen 7700X, which is a last-gen processor, but we are on socket AM5 here, which has a lot more forward mobility, and these are on the cheap right now on Amazon. So that's why I built mine with it, and that's why he went with it as well. Alright, and so you just pull up and remove this plastic piece, because it says to remove it prior to the installation of the processor. I remember on some of the Intel ones, you'd leave them on right up until the end, and you would press down and it would remove it. But with these, it specifically in the instructions told me to remove the plastic piece by hand and then insert the CPU. So the pins are on the board nowadays with AMD, but for the longest time, AMD, the pins were on the chip. So this is a lot more like Intel. And so what we're looking for is the arrow to line up with that arrow. So the chip has to go facing this direction. where AMD Ryzen is. See? So easy peasy. Just lift that. And you want to go as straight up and onto it as possible. And then just lightly drop it into place. And allow the bracket to slot the chip the rest of the way in. And now we have completed what we need to do with the motherboard for now, for right meow. So what I am going to do is I'm going to lightly drape it in some more of this anti-static to prevent any dust buildup while I install the power supply into the case. So I'll be right back. It's a pretty big case. Top panel comes off. Got spaces if you wanted to put a filter in there. Doesn't look like it includes with a filter unless there's one deeper in the box, but they do give you an awful lot of stuff to build with though. So that has a screen on it, but it doesn't look like it's removable. Okay, out and then up. Okay. Dang, this is already building up quite a few fingerprints, and I don't think this has a peel on it. So that sucks. I was gonna leave the peel on if I could. Well, we still got some pretty big fans in the front here. I'm gonna grab that camera off the stand and show you guys a little in-close and personal view of it. Alright, we're in handheld ultra-wide mode now. So, as you can see, you've got one 120, a second 120 set here. So that's three 120s and two, what are these? 200s? They call them sickle flow 200s, I guess. Alright, so tell me this isn't cool. So Cooler Master gives you this little clamshell system here to mount your all-in-one radiator. It's not a toolless design, 8 screws, but then it is toolless to mount it to the top of the case. I've been having a pretty joyful time building in the Cooler Master HAF 700. Hello, so it's a little bit later in the day, but I've got the motherboard installed. The standoffs were already pre-installed, and I'm installing a Thermal Grizzly cryo sheet that just arrived in the mail today. I'm using this in lieu of thermal paste to take the human error out of the CPU cooling. And so, consequently, a lot of channels are not going to show you their thermal paste application. Whereas with Thermal Grizzly, it's the same every time, and so I have no problem showing you how to apply a Thermal Grizzly pad. Take off one side, line it up, apply it to the CPU, and it will peel nicely off of the pad. You just kind of got to roll it off. You don't want to get any skin oils in there though. Okay. Alright, and with our AM5 bracket installed, I will now be installing our cooler directly onto the mount. Having these screws loosened and readied helps with installation. Now I'm just judging based on the torque. And you just keep working this down. You don't gotta go too crazy, like I wouldn't break out the soft jaw pliers for this, but definitely, you know, give it some oomph with it. But these, remember, are in fact thumb screws, not soft jaw plier screws. and I'll be right back when I've got some more wiring done. Now there's very few people that can show this view right here. Two Cooler Master high airflow systems, both running AMD's Ryzen 7 series chips. All of them have Cooler Master 1050 watt power supplies. The only distinction between the systems is the motherboard, the RAM, and of course the case. And this system is using a GeForce RTX 5070, whereas my old system is using a 7900 XT. Anyway, thank you for checking out this build. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless.